Tragedies like this can make for traumatic and challenging conversations at home.
Mike Mack spoke with Dr. Sarah Paper this afternoon, and she is a child psychologist at Allina Health.
Sir, obviously it's been a defining day in Minnesota for the wrong reasons again. And when people see this and the shock begins to not wear off, but certainly subside a touch, what do you see when you see the students that experienced this today? What do you see from a psychologist standpoint that you say, here's the first thing we need to be aware of?
There's a number of different reactions. I even just spoke with an adolescent earlier today who told me that she's already thinking about the windows in her classrooms. And even before today's events was thinking, what would I do if somebody was shooting at my school? Where would I go? So kids are familiar with it. It hasn't hit this close to home before, though. So I think it's important to be mindful of our kids' emotional response and make sure to talk to them about this topic. Don't be afraid to engage them. Don't give them more information they're asking for, but make sure to bring it up and offer some time and space for them to share.
The parents are also grieving, and the parents in this community know each other well and know, you know, God help us, but they know the parents of maybe the deceased. What do you tell the parents that are going through it as well?
This incident happened 2 miles from the clinic I work at. So even I was thinking like, okay, how close is this going to get to me? How many people are going to be coming in talking about it? And I think we're all in that state now without having information of like, who am I going to know who knows somebody, or who am I going to know who is there? And I think being prepared, because it could happen, obviously, to any of us, and reaching out to people who we know are connected. There's nothing wrong with checking in with somebody. That won't upset them. If they're not taking calls, then they just won't answer. But to reach out and say, I know this might be affecting you, and I just want to see how you're doing.
When obviously trauma is something that it almost seems like we're beyond people that serve in the military. We understand that all of us are vulnerable to trauma, and not just short term, but long term. And you always hear about how people heal and grieve in different stages. For this school year, what will that be like for these kids?
This is going to be a really hard school year for them, because school is supposed to be a place where kids feel safe, where kids can be themselves, where they feel nurtured. They're supposed to be learning in that environment, and that's really hard to do when you're frightened. These kids will need to be talking about it, drawing about it, expressing themselves in any way that feels appropriate at their own time and pace. Like, some kids are going to curl up and not want to talk about it, and they need their space too. But what we know is talking about it, sharing about it, connecting with others, that human connection is a very healing part. Particularly with trauma. Human connection heals traumatic responses.
Unfortunately, we've got a lot of examples in this country over the last several years of things similar to this. Has there been much learned from those? Are those studied? Are those part of your curriculum, as they say, this is what, there are case studies done that have at least helped us advance this?
There's more information available, definitely. Before we were speaking, I was looking at the Sandy Hook parent resource page, and they have a lot of resources available for what we've learned about how to talk to kids. That we've learned that these images, this is what we learned from 9/11, in fact, is that being bombarded by those images is really traumatizing for people who even weren't there. And so that's an important thing for parents to do, and for ourselves to do, is to limit our exposure, not to not know what's going on, but we don't need to see those images over and over again, because those are things that we're not going to be able to unsee. And that's important to keep in mind. We do know more about healing and trauma and coming together. And so, we can take those lessons with us with each tragedy and hopefully reduce those as well.
And how do you know if somebody, that there's normal adolescence too as you grow up? How do you know what's normal as you grow? I'm not talking about the next 2 weeks, I'm talking about the next 10 years. And what could be lodged in that brain from this traumatic experience that we need to be aware of? How do we differentiate? Because they may not even be aware of why they react to certain things going forward.
I think it's really important to be aware that they're going to forever be different. We're all going to forever be different after this. We can't be the same after something happens. It changes us, and they're going to be afraid for reasons they might not understand. And so it's important for them, if they're really struggling, to reach out and get the support and resources and help that they need, because they no longer can tell themselves everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine, because they experienced a day where things were not okay. They weren't fine.
Visual triggers is what I keep hearing though here too, is this, you're going to go back to either that school or a similar school at some point in time. You're going to see images.
Yeah.
The impact of visual is just huge in how you try to navigate that, huh?
And to be mindful too, like the people who are directly experiencing it, the kids that were there, the adults that were there, it can be visual, it can be sound, it can be smells, it can be temperature. There can be so many things because our body,
Who
our
knows
brains are
what they
trying to keep us
experience,
safe.
yeah.
Yeah. So they're saying this was dangerous last time I felt this, last time I smelled this, last time I heard this, it was scary. And so helping them kind of make those connections will be really important. And it's going to affect them when they grow up and have their own kids. This is a huge tragedy that's going to change all of us.
She's absolutely right. Thank you to Mike, Max, and Dr. Paper with some, I think, really helpful information.
Yeah, insightful and good to know, and hopefully we can all lean on one another.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have to for
definitely.
quite a while.